Dear friends, Theosophists, good afternoon. We are happy to start our online seminar, The Secret Doctrine, by Elena Petrovna Blavatsky, together with Russian and international scientists, Theosophists. We're happy to welcome all our listeners, all who connected to our seminars, and the scientific research group members. Today, we're working with Mr. Day, international speaker of the Theosophical Society, national lecturer of Indian section, the president of Uttar Pradesh state, Uttarakhand, India. Mr. Narayanan, we're happy to welcome you, the Theosophical Society of India, Blavatsky Lodge of Mumbai. Today with us, we have Esther Potter, the Theosophical Society of Australia, CISO, the Theosophical Society of the Netherlands, Michelina Foster, the Theosophical Society of the United States of America, California, and members of the Russian Theosophical Society, Madame Zlaeva, the president of the Blavatsky Lodge, Theosophical Society of Russia, uh, Mr. Zaitsev, Anakata, Theosophical Lodge member. We are happy to welcome everybody. And dear listeners, all your comments and questions you may write in the Q&A section. Based on your questions, we will prepare a special video for Video Forum, which is named Philosophical Quizy. This video is very popular. More than 4,000 people visualized it. And as you know, our seminar is not only for those who studies the secret doctrine, but also for those who are interested in philosophical studies. It lasts only 2 hours, and it is very important not to leave our translation. Let us respect our common work, our interpreters, and the effort the scientific research group brings into these studies. Today, we'll present unique lectures and also final comments of the members of scientific research group, which can also be interesting and insightful. And we will share these comments after every lecture of every hour speaker. So please don't leave us. Stay with us till the end. Today we work with interpreters Olga Tomchuk, Sergei Satkin, Maria Ponomareva. Thank you very much. And our greetings for your work. You are going to help us to connect with the whole world. The participants of the seminar have joined. There are more than 150 listeners from the cities of the Russian Federation: Ufa, Saratov, Kirov, Voronezh, Sochi, Kemerovo, Yekaterinburg, Krasnoyarsk, Moscow, St. Petersburg, but also from South Korea, Finland, Netherlands, India, Portugal, Australia, Brazil, France, Italy, the United Kingdom, Nepal, Greece, the Philippines, Latvia, Spain, Estonia, Belarus, the United States of America, Israel, Moldova, and Ukraine. And today we present the sixth sloka, or the first stanza, and Rekha, Nahar, the Philippines, Taposhri and Kori, the Theosophical side of Great Britain, London, Mr. Ung Kwang, the Doctor of Philosophy, the Professor of the Art School, South Korea, Mr. Jose Maria Aquilenta, the Theosophical Society of Portugal, Mr. Rafael Marquez de Albuquerque, the Doctor of Theosophy, the Brazilian Theosophical Society. And we wish all the participants fruitful work. So the international online seminar, Secret Doctrine, which will tell about the first stanza, sixth sloka, is open. Traditionally, we give the floor to the president of Adamant Lodge, the Theosophical Society of Russia, the leader of the Moscow School of Theosophy, Vladimir Yari, for his greetings.
Welcome everybody, brothers and sisters. As a rule, we start again our seminar with the thought of the day by HPB, Pearl of the East. And today the thought is the following. Wealth in the hands of those who do not want to dispose of it to help humanity one day will certainly turn into dry leaves. This is the thought. It gives us the direction for the meditative thinking in order to determine immediately the cosmic law which is expressed in such a way. If a person doesn't want to dispose of its wealth to help humanity, then for sure his wealth finally will turn into dry leaves. In this case, of course, this law tells us that there is a time to get and there is a time to give. This is the main thought, that we are ready today, each of us, to share the knowledge, giving out its knowledge. And by giving it out, we are getting some spiritual wealth of the higher quality. And according to this thought of the day, let's see what nidanas determine the age, year, month, day, week, which we are living through now. The nidanas are the following. Age of white dragon. It means complete wisdom. Obhava in Sanskrit. Bhava as being. This dragon is the intermediary in the karmic sense. It determines the birth of each consciousness in one or the other sector, in the sense that each man is born in one of the being plane, in one of the spheres, according to his wisdom, because each man has his own wisdom, his own experience, by means of which the man can get into one or the other sector. This is very important to understand, that our age is determined transition for each of us according to the each of us point of view. It's very important that the white dragon is going under the green ray, and the green ray means the thought image, the symbol about the perceiving of being, symbol of finished knowledge, complete knowledge. And the complete wisdom is expressed with the thought image. And according to such expression, where non-being and being, unmanifested and manifested, are combined in our understanding of being. And when this is combined together, then we go to the next turn of our birth spiral, of our spiritual birth as a man. Spiritual in the sense that it's of the more subtle sense, and our guides in this case are able to manipulate those subtle energies. The year of the white bull. This is the time we are living through now. Also, it goes on the green energy, also on the energy of Saturn, and also this is of green color. The white bull itself, this is the symbol of avidya or ignorance, which each of us implements and thus aspiring to the higher consciousness. The month is of the black dragon. Black dragon, this is the symbol of Parashakti, of the force, of this dual force, which in its potential, this force is in unmanifested condition, but as soon as conscious touches it, of this potentiality, of this possibility, then the reality starts to show up. The wisdom is appearing. The black dragon goes under the blue energy. This is the symbol of heat, of the warmth, of the heartedness expressed by the force of love. The week now is of the yellow tiger. Yellow tiger is the symbol of the birth, symbol of new man being born, new consciousness being born, new thought type being born. It's under the sign of Jupiter. And now we have two principles, black dragon and yellow tiger. They go under one energy of heat, of warmth. And the next, Nidana, is the Nidana black ox. This is the symbol of the original power of implementation of our ignorance, of our deep ignorance, which will go through all negative karmic connections, which will actively go along with us for us to get them broken. So black ox also goes under blue energy, and thus we have the age and the year under green energies of Saturn. So this is the thought image. Then implementation and realization are ready. One through dragon is ready to show up wisdom, and through white bull to realize avidya, ignorance, which gives aspiration to comprehension. And the other three principles of Nidanas, black dragon, yellow tiger, and the day of black ox, all those are controlled by Jupiter. And the Jupiter is the symbol of love, warmth, and according to those energies we are able to show up wisdom and to implement our aspiration, which is birth of us humans. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the information, and it will be very interesting to see today how will the research of the Sloka and the stanzas unfold in the energies of the day, and how these nidanas will manifest, the nidanas that Vladimir have just mentioned, and the thought of the day, of course, and we will draw the conclusion in the end after all the lectures and Vladimir Vasilyevich will sum up how all these energies have been transformed during the 2 hours of seminars. And now we are welcome Rekha Nahar, the Theosophical Society of the Philippines. You're welcome. Hear you.
Good evening to all of you from the Philippines. So here we are, seminar on the secret doctrine of Madam Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. May 29, 2021, Sharer, Rekha Nahar. Sources of information, literature, online information, and insights of the sharer. The secret doctrine, according to HPB, the secret doctrine is the common property of the countless millions of men born under various climates, in times with which history refuses to deal, and to which esoteric teachings assign dates incompatible with the theories of geology and anthropology. Letter number 128 in Mahatma Letters, Master K.H. wrote, and I quote, "The secret doctrine will explain many things, set to right more than one perplexed student," and end quote. So here I find myself as a perplexed student who will try to share with all of you my thoughts about this topic. With much hesitation, I am here to share my humble understanding about this very profound subject matter. Main focus of this presentation, the focus of this short sharing is not to go into a discussion of any intellectual terms. I humbly like you to know that I am not in any way knowledgeable about this deep subject matter. I simply agreed to be with you here, mainly for Brother Ernie Narendran and Sister Eugenia Shaborn-Kiova. I also wish to learn from the rest of you, the rest of the panelists. I thank Adamand Lodge of the Theosophical Society of Russia for organizing this event and for allowing me to be part of this seminar. I'll be sharing my thoughts on Paranishpanna. Paranishpanna is a Sanskrit, a historical Indo-Aryan language, term which means developed, perfect, real, existing. Theosophy world defines Paranishpanna as the perfection attained by all at the close of the large cycle of manifestation, or Maha Manvantara. Maha Manvantara is known as a great cycle of manifestation for a solar system, also known as an astronomical period of time measurement. Maha means great, and Manvantara is composed of the words Manu and Antara, which is translated as a period of manifestation. Encyclopedic Theosophical Glossary describes this as a great cycle of cosmic manifestation and activity, whether of a universe, solar system, or planet. Continuation of Paranishpanna. According to Theosophy Wiki, Paranishpanna is the absolute perfection to which all existence attain at the close of a great period of activity, or Maha Manvantara, and in which they rest during the succeeding period of repose. Let us have a quick exploration of absolute perfection. Encyclopedic Theosophical Glossary reads, absolute perfection is applicable not to infinity, but to the absolute of a universe. We read from theosophical literature that all beings are part of an ever-growing evolutionary stages and eventually will attain perfection at the close of a Manvantara, a state called Paranishpanna in Sanskrit. We also learn from the secret doctrine that all beings go through progressive development towards perfection. That is great hope for humanity and its progress. End notes. This was my very first attempt to study secret doctrine in an organized manner. Although in the past, I was inspired reading secret doctrine, which is known as the magnum opus of HPB. I found the text extremely difficult to comprehend all by myself. I am not very sure if this short sharing was helpful to anyone in any way. I thank you all for your kind understanding. Once again, I thank Adam and Lodge of Russia for this opportunity to share my thoughts about the work of Madam Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, to whom I am extremely grateful for her sacrifices for humanity. I end now my sharing with this quotation of HPB, and it says, "Be humble if thou wouldest attain to wisdom. Be humbler still when wisdom thou hast mastered." Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share this exploration with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Rekha. Thank you for focusing on the sloka itself. Thank you for the attention that you paid to the moral aspects of the personal development and underlined the importance of studying the secret doctrine. And so the main mistake in the studying of the secret doctrine when you read only intellectually or mechanically, since this work is known only by intuition. You have noticed very important aspects of the development of human evolution and the connection with cosmic evolution, the main link of which is the striving for perfection and acquisition of wisdom, which is manifested in the life of each day by the true humility and of the individual. And when this submission to the individual arises, then the higher ego or the higher self, the mind, the monad, or the individual ego can shine for everyone with the peace of the soul. Thank you very much for your sensitivity and insight, because in understanding this secret knowledge, the quantity is not important, but every small drop of understanding is crucial, which carries the potentiality of knowing the eternal. Thank you very much. And we invite our next speaker, Taposhri Ganguli, Doctor of Statistics, Theosophical Society of the Great Britain, London. You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to start by thanking Eugenia for the opportunity and my deepest gratitude to everyone who is here today. I would present a short mathematical perspective to Sloka 6, stanza 1 of the Secret Doctrine. This perspective would bring forth ideas underpinning the Sanskrit prosody. Through vibration comes motion. Through motion comes color. Through color comes tone, is what Pythagoras had stated once upon a time, and true in its nature. Besides color, I'll be exploring the other aspects of words and numbers in this presentation today. Let us make ourselves familiar with a few words or a few notions. For example, a syllable is a part of a word that contains sounds of a word. They are often considered the phonological building blocks of words. They form an important part of speech, and all words have syllables. A word might have one or two or even more syllables. Shloka 6, stanza 1 of the Secret Doctrine states, Rekha already stated it beautifully, but I'm going to restate it. The seven sublime lords and the seven truths had ceased to be, and the universe, the son of necessity, was immersed in paranishpanna, absolute perfection, paranirvana, which is yoga, to be outbreathed by that which is and yet is not was. This shloka can be broken down into binary digits, only a part of which is presented in table 1. Each word or text of the shloka is broken down into a number, either 0 or 1. Within the English language, the underlying division is that of stressed and unstressed syllables, which can be a little bit ambiguous. This ambiguity is well addressed within Sanskrit language, and we shall take a closer look at it in a while. However, for now, let us understand that the shloka, the words, can be represented in a binary form. It is well known that every word carries a vibration, a frequency. The conversion of texts into binary or bits is common because that is how computers store and process information. The contextual modeling could possibly lead into sentiment analysis framework and make way to computationally express the significance and relevance of these texts in the world today. Though I have written that these words can be expressed in binary units, it is worth noting that these words can also be expressed into several other numerical systems, such as hexadecimals, ASCII codes, and so on. If we take the table 1 of zeros and ones and transform them into a wave function, the transformation is represented as in the graph that you can see on the slide. The x-axis is time in seconds, and the y-axis is channel, which are basically the bits. And we do not have anything that is -1. The signals vary between 0 and 1. The signals demonstrate the pauses, the continuity, and the movement in time. These kind of binary numeration, binomial coefficients, and Fibonacci numbers are also found in Chanda Shastras relating to the concept of meters within the Sanskrit language. Before getting into understanding a bit of Chanda Shastra, let us look at the beautiful autocorrelations that Shloka 6 presents us with. Whenever one writes a sentence, it's usually never that the first word is unrelated to the second and the third and so on. There is always a relation between the first word and the second and the third to form a sentence. That is how sentences are written. These kind of relations in the simplest terms are called autocorrelations. In trying to understand the shloka, it is worth noting that from where does it start and where does it end? How do words vary and what information do they carry with them to form the shloka? The analysis has some technical slides or technical terms on the slides, which I'm going to skip because it probably won't interest everybody, but I will emphasize on this that the relationships that flow through in the shloka hint at a coherency with most values being greater than 0. If the prediction model was to obey a binomial model, we could have seen the coefficients of the shloka itself form a Pascal's triangle. Now, coming to Chanda Shastras, the philosophy behind Chanda Shastra or prosody visualizes the whole cosmos vibrating in rhythm called laya, movement called gati, combined with pause called yati. Pretty much what we have seen in the graph that demonstrates the wave function of the shloka. Things in this world are enveloped in chandas, and these chandas are said to be abounding in taste, relish, aesthetic experience, and are imbued with rhythms, pauses, and movements. They are manifestations of the cosmic order. Ontologically, these are the empirical world, the world of vital forces, and the spiritual world, also known as Adhyatmika. Chandas are found to be 7 meters long and are said to have formed the circumference when the infinite was being canalized into a finite form. They belong to the infinity of time and space. The meters, which are manifestations, are formed by limiting the time and the space. Each meter is structured in trikas or triads. The permutations and combinations of the short and long letters in the trika forms 8 groups. The long letters are called guru and the short letters are called laghu. These can be understood as variants of the syllables within the language Sanskrit. And the most important takeaway here is this, that there is no word without meter, nor there is any meter without words. Now let's look at the mathematics behind this. One of the oldest Vedic meter, popularly known as the Gayatri meter, has got 3 padas of 8 syllables containing 24 syllables in each stanza. In instances where 0 is used to denote the short syllable and 1 is used to denote the long syllable, for each meter, there's a sequence of zeros and ones. This forms the binary numeration. Rhythmic patterns are created through many such sequences, and following the combinatorics NCK, it is reduced to a rotated Pascal's triangle. Worth noting here is that the structure of the tetractys, governed by 2 and 3, which are the 2 prime numbers that do not fit in the 6n plus or minus 1, is the basis for the construction of the entire pattern at various levels of hierarchy. One of the most famous and most talked about one is the Pascal's triangle. Sage Pingala, back in 300 BC, wrote these 2 sutras referring to the Pascal's triangle. Pare Purnam, which means next full, Pare Purnamiti, which means next full, and so on. These sutras basically generate the binomial coefficients, the one that I mentioned a while ago while showing the autocorrelations for Shloka 6. What is the significance of these chandas, if you may ask? One way to understand this is that these mathematical principles of meters enable artists and musicians to preserve the compositions when it comes to performing arts. Another way is to note that Brahmanism, Hinduism, and Buddhism describe universe as a series or an accumulation of vibrations from the most subtle to the coarse, which gets disseminated within Akasha. Also, that every occurrence in the universe has a vibration frequency and it resonates when it reaches that frequency. Lastly, in the Tibetan tradition, every monk is asked to meditate upon one's own personal archetypical deity of meditation, set his voice correctly, and appease the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In this manner, the sacred sound brings man closer to the gods and the gods to men. This can be understood as a task that Rekha very nicely pointed out, that is upon all of us to do our own inner work before anything else. Talking about sound, literature has evidence of the impact of musical notes on human body. Each musical note, especially in this context, the Indian classical musical note, has a corresponding chakra or wheels of energy throughout the body, as they are referred to at times. These can be summarized in the table from the work of Sumati and Parmar in 2016. Although this presentation isn't about sound as such, but it is worth pointing out that a cluster of syllables are referred to as ganas, and these ganas in chandas. In simplistic terms, swaras or musical notes are one of them. Hence the relevance of the 7 Indian classical musical notes and their connection to the human body. By now, we have heard that chandas are 7 meters long, there are 7 musical notes, and there are 7 chakras in the human body, which we know through yoga or we have read it in books. And this comes to an interesting question, which I'm sure everybody would like to ask: why number 7? To answer, if we turn to cognitive psychologist George Miller, in 1956, in his work, presents an answer. That is, the number of objects a human can hold in his short-term memory is 7 plus or minus 2. This is often referred to as Miller's law. It's also called the magical number 7 plus or minus 2. While there's a debate in the literature on whether the number 7 holds for working memory or is simply dependent on the chunks of data, the magical number 7 still holds a significance within the psychology literature. Another aspect of number 7 can be found in Rig Veda, where it is said that the 7 horses draw the chariot of the sun tied by snakes, pointing towards the 7 rays and the concepts that more or less everyone here is familiar with. Another important aspect to look at now is that we know that the shloka can be translated into binary digits. We know that the words from the shloka seem to be coherent to form a sentence. We also know that everyone reads the shloka differently. But what is the underlying commonality to us, to the readers of the text? The answer to that is the underlying sentiment value that the shloka carries is constant for everyone, regardless of their ethnicity, location, gender, socioeconomic status, and so on, given the computational framework that I have just used. The sentiment value for shloka 6, stanza 1 is highly positive. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, there is no negative sentiment that is attached to this shloka. It runs exceptionally high on trust, followed very closely by anticipation. To conclude, I would say that besides the etymology and perception of words, there is an attached vibration which may be computed to emphasize on the partial sums that lead to infinity in different methods and ways. And that in today's day and age, subjective texts may also be substantiated with their underlying sentiment values, which remain constant. And with that, I would like to thank everyone at the Adamant Lodge once again for having given me this opportunity today to share my work. Thank you.
Dear Dr. Ganguli, your research is just an explosion. It's the discovery of method of studying the sacred Zen text by going into the core in the most difficult theme, which is sound, in which beautiful music comes out of your research and of your presentation. And here we have some new understanding of how this connection of syllables, letters, and words, the speech uh, occurs, is the whole uh, flow of power which can serve to our refinement of the perception of the world. Stanza indeed are written according to certain rhythm, meter, musical rhythm, which helps us go into specific state. And Yelena Rerik calls this state as a great rhythm of Makavana. A very interesting thought which came while we were listening to your lecture. You mentioned Rigveda, 7 horses pulling the sun carriage with snakes, and the horse is a symbol of mind and justice. And here it is in Kalachakra. It has its own specific meaning, and the sum, these numbers give specific rhythm for 7, 10, 4, and 10. The whole sum is 5. Snake, symbol of mind and movement, also goes through 5 Kalachakra places on the wheel and has the same meanings. If we sum it up, 3, 6, 9, 3, and 6, again we have the number 5 is a manifestation of the Nidana horse. The number 9 is the manifestation of the Nidana snake, and the sum of their common manifestation is 14, 2 septentaries, 7 and 7. 7 horses pull the chariot of the sun, pointing to the 7 rays. 7 is like a full cycle of movement. The ray is the general rhythm of evolution, which, according to your research, is the basic value for everyone. Here is a specific application of your thoughts to the Kalachakra calendar. Thank you very much for your discovery. Thank you very much, Dr. Taposhri. And we have now next lecture. We are welcoming Mr. Ung Kang Kwan, the Doctor of Philosophy of the Art School, the South Korea. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Today we are talking about stanza 1 and Sloka 6. This statement reads the 7 sublime laws and the 7 truths that cease to be an universe. The son of a necessity was immersed in paranishpanna, to be outpressed by what which is and yet is not was. Here the 7 sublime laws means the 7 planets. We know about this. 7 planet makes 1 planetary chain, and the 7 truths means the Manvantara period of 7 planet chains. It is almost 4.32 billion years. Madame Blavatsky, there are 7 planetary chains in our system. At the below the page, the Madame Blavatsky's drawing of the chain in a letter to CNET. This was the after generating the universe, 7 planets and chain of 7 planets. But now the important idea, this Sloka 6 is about the Paranishpanna. What is Paranishpanna? This is the before generating the universe. It was in the darkness. Paranishpanna is equal to Parinishpanna, or equal to Nirvana. According to Blavatsky, this state spelled by her as Paranishpanna is a synonym of Nirvana. Pari means equal. She defined it as follows. Paranishpanna is the absolute perfection to which all existence attain at the close of a great period of activity, Maha Manvantara, and in which they rest during the succeeding period of repose. In Tibetan, it is called Yonguru. During Maha Pralaya, which is darkness, everything reverts to this state. Paranishpanna or Parinirvana can be experienced consciously or unconsciously. The condition of Paranishpanna without Paramartha, the self-analyzing consciousness, is no bliss, but simply extinction. It is only with the mind clear and darkened by personality and an assimilation of the merit of manifold existences devoted to being in its collectivity, the whole living and sentient universe, that one gets rid of personal existence, merging into becoming one with the absolute and continuing in full possession of Paramatha. When experienced consciously, it is a state of bliss and absolute wisdom. This is the meaning of Nirvana. I'll say about Nirvana. Nirvana is a central concept in Indian religion, actually Buddhism. The word literally means blowing out, referring in the Buddhist context to the blowing out of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion, or simply all of consciousness. In Brahmanic thought, it is the state of being free from suffering, because the world is the ocean of sufferings. In Hindu philosophy, it is the union with Brahman through moksha. Blavatsky rejected the idea that Nirvana merely means the extinction of our consciousness. Very often we are confronted with the statement, you talk about Nirvana. What is Nirvana? It is an extinction. It is just like a flame that is blown out from the candle. There remains nothing. Nirvana, the flame out. I had now many times to have disputes and discussions about that. I said it is not at all, not that at all. It is that every particle of matter of what which may have form in our conception or be conditioned or limited, everything disappears to make room for one homogeneity and for the one absolute spirit. But this spirit is not at all. It is non-consciousness for us, but it is absolute consciousness there. This is the meaning of the Paranishpanna, actually. According to Buddhist, Nirvana is the entire blowing out, like the flame of a candle, the utter extinction of existence. But in the esoteric explanations, it is the state of absolute existence and absolute consciousness into which the ego of a man who has reached the highest degree of perfection and holiness during life goes. After the body dies, and occasionally, as in the case of Gautama Buddha and others during life. This is a very important statement. During the life, they may go to Nirvana. Four Noble Truths of Gautama Buddha. When Buddha saw that many people just did not get the basic teaching of our mind creating the universe, he started to teach the Four Noble Truths. The truth means enlightenment. He was teaching basic cause and effect as if it existed outside of ourselves. He did this for 45 years, from 30 to 80 years old. He said that there is a suffering, first. Second, there is the cause of suffering. Third, the end of suffering. Fourth, the way to end the suffering. This is very important concept. And there are 8 sufferings. The jumped up Nirvana. Jumped up Nirvana has no suffering, actually. PARANISHPANNA has no suffering. Nirvana means the jumped up, disappear, I mean. So the period of universe, which is a Manvantara, is equal to 432 billion years. The circle, chain of rivers, due to karma. We studied about that. Good karma gives rivers of good human, but bad karmas gives the rivers of animal or the insect. Remember that we are under 8 sufferings during these chains. From the suffering, we may jump up to the Nirvana with the wisdom. How to jump up Nirvana? Actually, jump to Paranishpanna through Nirvana. The Gautama suggests 6 paramatthas, which is perfections. The first, generosity. The second, ethics. The third, patience. The fourth, joyous effort. Fifth, concentration of training. And the sixth, getting the wisdom of Gautama Buddha. The wisdom means emptiness, actually. So you can, from the internet search anytime. You go internet search, just putting the word 6 paramatthas, then you can read anytime. Just read that from the internet. This is the famous emptiness song, simply emptiness song. The formal name is the Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. This is famous about the definition of emptiness, or 6 repeats of emptiness. Also, you can read this from the internet. You put the sutra, Wisdom Sutra, or the Heart of the Perfection of the Wisdom Sutra. You put in the internet, you can read this one. There are more, 32 lines more. Repeatedly, they saying about the emptiness. What is emptiness? Emptiness, emptiness. Now, about the peri-nirvana. Actually, peri means after. Nirvana means the jumped up. Madame Blavatsky wrote, exoteric and frequent mistake, Nirvana may be reached during man's life. During man's life. This is a very important concept. During man's life and after his death. In the Manvantara, remember the Manvantara is the 7 chains of the planetary chain or life kalpa he belongs to. Paranirvana, beyond nirvana, post nirvana actually, is reached only when the Manvantaras has closed and during the night of the universe or pralaya. Such is esoteric teaching in the writings. The term paranirvana is used to refer to the state, the universe. The universe enters at the great day when everything becomes one. All individualities are merged into one, yet each knowing itself, a mysterious teaching indeed. But then that which is to us now is non-consciousness world. The consciousness will then be absolute consciousness. This day does not come after planetary pralaya, but only at the end of Manvantara. End of the Manvantara, that means the darkness, when the universe pralaya says. In paranirvana, when pralaya will have reduced not only material and psychical bodies, but even the spiritual ego to their original principles, the past, present, the even future humanities, like all things, will go on and the same. Everything will have re-entered the great breath. In other words, everything will be merged in Brahma or the divine unity. In Nirvana, all things are in Paranishpanna or absolute perfection. This page is the result. Emptiness actually means originally there is no essential nature. My essence is empty. That means emptiness means nothing. It has many things. It has visions, energy, strength. But essence, no essence. Everyone has no essence. So emptiness means ties with neighbors and relation with others, no prejudice. The emptiness means that. So I compared Christianity and Buddhism. The teacher in Christianity, the teacher is Jesus. And the main teaching, love. Love what? Love whom? Love God, love neighbors. That's the main teaching of Jesus. And if then you get a reward of ascension to the heaven. So eternal home is heaven. But we have a remark about Christianity. We have to wait until Jesus comes back. We don't know when. Nobody has said about that. Maybe 1 billion years. So we have to wait then. Wait to go heaven. How about the Buddhism? The teacher is Gautama Buddha, and main teaching is emptiness. Emptiness does not mean empty. It means ties, relations, no prejudice, ties with neighbors. And the reward is Nirvana, jumped up, and eternal home is Paranishpanna. There's a typing error, Parinirvana. So I hope you get some idea about the Paranishpanna. Thank you very much.
Dear Mr. Kwang, thank you for your research. And indeed, with the state of nirvana, as you defined, as blowing out the fire of greed, hatred, and delusion, that is, where should a person strive to get rid of these negative manifestations in himself, thereby gaining freedom from suffering and freeing his world from suffering, by freeing this world for manifestation of another world, for the world of uniformity and absolute spirit. You have given uh, the example of four noble truths and how they correspond to the world of suffering. And if we consider these four noble truths through the planes of being, we understand where the suffering is on the physical plane, where the reason of suffering is the astral plane, where the end of suffering is the plane of mind and creativity, and on the archetypes plane, here we see the nirvana state and the cessation of suffering. And you used a very amazing expression to jump into nirvana through parameters. And if we consider parameters, and we know that parameters are the acquisition of perfection. And if we take the six parameters and consider the six directions of the world, we see that they correspond to the 12 nidanas and they lead to the complete freedom or the completion or emptiness. So the state of complete liberation. Thank you so much for your excellent research and for giving us such impulses to create new thoughts. Thank you very much. And we invite Jose Manuel Anacleto, Theosophical Research Center, Portugal. The floor is yours. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Fraternal greetings to all Theosophist sisters and brothers, especially from Russia. I am really very honored and joyful to participate in this event. Also, in advance, please accept my apologies for my poor pronunciation of the English language. Unfortunately, because of this, I have to read a script, as you can see, although I normally prefer to improvise. Anyway, I hope you can all understand me well. The Sloka 6 of the first stanza of the book of Dzyan states the following. Excuse me. The seven sublime lords and the seven truths had ceased to be, and the universe, the sun of necessity, was immersed in PARANISHPANNA, to be outbreed by that which is, and yet is not, nor was. All the slokas of this first stanza speak about the night of the universe, about a Maha Pralaya, about the negative existence, about the dark mystery of non-being, as Helena Blavatsky wrote in the poem of The Secret Doctrine. This is the so-called one reality, the absolute all. Our words, and even before that, our mental concepts, are incapable of describing it. Therefore, we resort to some kind of apophatic theology, denying any attributes or any relative and conditioned existence, so that it only remains the eternal and uncaused cause, the unknown root of everything, which is simultaneously empty and full, a void and a pleroma or plenitude. As we can read in the Sloka 7, the eternal non-being is the one being, or, as it says in this Sloka 6, that which is and yet it is not. However, this Sloka and HPB's commentaries take the opportunity to refer to that which, though non-existent or dormant in the state of absoluteness, will come to awaken and manifest in a new Manvantara or cosmic day. Therefore, she alludes to the 7 sublime lords, that is, the 7 Dhyani Buddhas, who watch over each of the 7 rounds of the planetary chain, and who are not to be confused with the Manushi Buddhas, i.e., the human Buddhas, because we are in the round 4 of this 4th planetary chain of Earth. Only 4 great Dhyani Buddhas have manifested, although as far as our global period is concerned, Siddhartha Gautama is actually the 5th Buddha in a lesser, yet of course still grandiose sense. And it is because we are in the round 4 that Elena Blavatsky states that there are only 4 Vedas in the Sanatana Dharma, or Hinduism, and 4 canonical Gospels in Christianity, as well as 4 noble truths told by the Buddha Shakyamuni. At the moment, as you know, we still have 3 more rounds to go, in which the capacity of human beings to understand more comprehensive teachings, as well as to assess a wider and much deeper and truer reality, will be successively enhanced. It is also stated that each universe is a child of necessity, of cosmic incarnative necessity. Each one of those universes standing in the relation of an effect as regards its predecessor, and being a cause as regards its successor, as HPB explained. We find also this in the Platonic philosophy, because Plato wrote that the demiurgus only do the cosmos the better he can, because he, the collective builders, work on an already conditioned substance from previous cosmos. And this whole chain of universes, are infinitely perfectible. They manifest themselves from a trans-temporal background, from an eternal duration, without a first or a last universe, in the same way as numbers are infinite. They emerge from absolute abstract space, where they are subsumed at the end of the Manvantara. the alternation of pralayas and manvantaras, that is to say, the law of periodicity spoken of in the second proposition of the Secret Doctrine, are analogues of inspiration and expiration, flux and reflex, expansion and contraction, sleep and wakefulness, and so on. And the human incarnative necessity is also in total analogy or correspondence with this cosmic process. As above, so below, says the Hermetic axiom. At the end of the cosmic day, the Manvantara, all lives comprising the one life reach the state of Paranishpanna, or absolute perfection, in which the universe is immersed during the Mahapralaya. Paranishpanna is basically a synonym of parinirvana. But the condition of paranishpanna without paramartha, i.e., self-analyzing consciousness, is not bliss, but simply an unconscious sleep. As it is written, in the Secret Doctrine, it is only with the mind clear and undarkened by personality and an assimilation of the merit of manifold existences devoted to being in its collectivity, the whole living and sentient universe, that one gets rid of personal existence, merging into, becoming one with the Absolute, and continuing in full possession of Paramartha. Of course, there is one of the aims of human existences. The other, equally important, in fact, even more important, is to learn and express compassion for all that lives and suffers. Compassion, the law of laws, eternal harmony, alias self, a shoreless universal essence, the light of everlasting right and fitness of all things, the law of love eternal, in the wonderful words of the voice of the silence. Thank you to your kind attentions, fraternal greetings again, until the 25th of September, in which I will talk about another sloka of this first stanza, and then I hope to talk a little more than today.
Thank you very much. Dear friend, our colleague from Portugal had limited time for preparation, but we will certainly meet him during our seminars. And in September, he will continue talking about first sloka stanzas, seventh stanza. So we are going to wait, Mr. Anakaleto. Thank you very much for the comparative analysis of the concepts that HPB gives us in this sloka. You pay attention to this hierarchy of Jnana Buddhas. It conclusions and analogies of the periods of sublime and Vantara, inhaling and exhaling the root that is fullness and emptiness, pleroma, that all the countless lives of the cosmic day is one single life, reaching the state of Paranishpanna. And this Paramartha, the state that analyzes itself, which can only be through the liberation of the mind from obscurations, which is completely clear and unshadowed personality. When a person gets rid of personal existence and acquires this clarity, eventually this person merges with the absolute. Thank you for the beautiful instructions from the voice of silence, which expressed this state so beautifully. Thank you very much. And we are
Thank you to
waiting
you.
for our next speaker, Rafael Marquez Albuquerque, PhD of Philosophy, Theosophical Society of Brazil. You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to express my joy in accepting the invitation to share some thoughts on this subject and to greet our Russian fellow Theosophists and also everyone around the world. There are different ways to interpret profound writings, such as the stanzas of the Xian. They refer to the beginning of existence, the genesis of the cosmos. One could suppose such topic is quite distant from our concrete experiences and wonder about the reason why such topic is addressed so emphatically in the theosophical literature. My commentary will try to bring such an abstract topic which refers to the event that happened time immemorial closer to us. Let's begin reading the whole Sloka again, the sixth of the first stanza of the Cosmogenesis. The seven sublime lords and the seven truths had ceased to be, and the universe, the sun of necessity, was immersed in Paranishpanna, absolute perfection, Paranirvana, which is young group, to be outbreathed by that which is and yet is not was. This stanza is referring to a state that's prior to manifestation. In such a state, our minds can imagine nothingness, like a big empty space, where even air is not. But the Sloka challenges our minds by declaring it's not just nothingness, but something that simultaneously exists and does not exist. The paradox suggests that our rational minds cannot reach the truth behind such words. So how can we understand it? One traditional approach to truths that challenge our rational and logic mind is to describe something using denial, and the Sloka employs that technique. It declares that in that state, even the seven sublime lords and the seven truths had ceased to be. In her commentaries, HBB explains who are the sublime lords, also called primordials, Dhyanis, Shohans, Elohims, archangels, seven rays, etc. But by making evident that even them cease to be, we are still at the front door of truth and not in real touch with it. There are similar declarations in previous slokas, going in circles around the nature of that mysterious state. The tool that we have to understand what we cannot explain by words is meditation. I would like to describe a meditative state that resonates with the mysterious state the first stanza is referring to. There are different maps to navigate higher states of consciousness, and I will refer to a Buddhist map, which divides the meditative states in 8 states called dhyanas. The first 4 are said to be in the realm of form, the rupa dhyanas, and the less and more elevated 4 are formless, the arupa dhyanas. I suggest that we ponder about the last 2 arupa dhyanas. They are sometimes described as the sphere of nothingness and the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception. We can begin to understand the connection between the state of things described in the first stanza and these highly elevated meditative states. The Buddhist teacher Shankarakshita describes experience in the sphere of nothingness as follows. In this state, there's no particular thingness of things. One cannot identify this as this and that as that. It's not as though they are confused and mixed up together, but the possibility of picking out does not exist. This is not a state of nothingness, but of no thingness. It is said that the verbal descriptions of the dhyanas, such as this one, particularly the formless ones, are inadequate. It is an attempt to describe an elevated state of consciousness using words, and neither words nor our rational mind can really grasp the meaning. This is why the descriptions of the Arupa dhyanas are said to be a provisory description to be used before we experience that state. Once you experience it, you realize the inadequacy of the verbal description. We can suppose the same idea is applied to PARANISHPANNA, especially when it is associated to something that which and yet is not was. The paradox is also present in the next dhyana, described as neither perception nor non-perception, which we can compare to that primordial state. It's not that consciousness perceives the emptiness, but rather there is no consciousness to be aware of it. What is implied in my reflection is that this sloka, as well as others, do not only refer to an event that happened in a very distant past, and that will happen once more at the end of the cycle. It is also a symbol that points towards an elevated state of consciousness. And that state is accessible to human experience if we have the discipline to go deep enough in our meditative experiences. When we study complicated texts, such as the stanzas of the Dhyan and its commentaries, the Secret Doctrine, it is sometimes said that we are exercising our mind capacity to deal with abstract and elevated ideas. While we make our muscles stronger by practicing physical exercises, we are developing the higher and more sublime faculties of our being by deepening our studies in philosophy and abstract thought. However, we're not only making it stronger, but we are also preparing our being to access elevated mysteries. In Buddhism, the word vipassana is a category of meditations that aim at direct perception of reality. If one wants to understand the deeper layers of a concept, such as impermanence or conditionality, one should practice vipassana meditation on that particular topic. That could be compared to what is described in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali as Sabija Samadhi, the samadhi with a seed. The whole concept of Sabija Samadhi is to depart from a concept that our rational mind can access and immerse one's consciousness in it until one reaches direct perception, which surpasses the capacity of our rational mind. The concept acts as a seed, and the meditation practice acts as a water that will allow the seed to grow into the lotus flower. This perspective allows us to understand how writings such as the Secret Doctrine can become practical tools in the spiritual path of self-transformation. However, it also emphasizes the need for meditation. If we only study the Secret Doctrine using our rational minds, it's like searching for a perfect seed and denying it even a drop of water. the lotus flower is far more outstanding and important than even the most beautiful seed. When we keep this analogy in mind, it's also important to remember it is an analogy and that the real state that Sloka is describing is not the same as the Buddhist Arupa Dhyanas or even Patanjali's Sabija Samadhi. In fact, there is a declaration in one of the Mahatma letters that simply that imply that the primordial state prior to manifestation is actually not accessible to human beings. It is declared that the spiritual ego, he will ascend from star to star, from one world to another, circling onwards to re-become the once pure planetary spirit, then higher still to finally reach its first starting point, and from thence to merge into mystery. No adept has ever penetrated beyond the veil of primitive cosmic matter. The highest, the most perfect vision is limited to the universe of form and matter. Even the stages I just mentioned, such as the Arupa Dhyanas and the Sabija Samadhi, are far from the ultimate stages we can reach. Even the highest of the Buddhist dhyanas are still far from the true transcendence, which is referred sometimes as emptiness or voidness. It is the concept of shunyata, quite emphasized in the Mahayana Buddhism. In Patanjali's system, there are many samadhis until one can reach the last one, the Dharma Megha Samadhi. However, the sloka points towards a state we cannot reach as human beings. Although we cannot reach that state, we can go very far by seeking that direction. To use the same words as light on the path, desire only that which is unattainable. You will enter the light, but you will never touch the flame. To return to this sloka, there is another set of ideas that I would like to address. One of them is the common metaphor of the manifestation of the universe as a breathing process, in which the manifestation is symbolized by the out-breath. The breathing suggests the cyclic process of manifestation aligned with the second fundamental proposition. However, it's not a cycle that returns to the exact same point. There is a cosmic process of evolution implied in this sloka, sometimes referred to as a great mystery. To understand this process of cosmic evolution, we should analyze the use of the word paranishpanna. It is declared that it's the same of paranirvana. But in this occasion, the term paranishpanna is more elucidating, because paranirvana traditionally refers to the state of Shakyamuni Buddha when he left his physical body. Normally, Buddhists do not say that the Buddha died, but he reached paranirvana. This traditional use of the word makes the other, paranishpanna, more fit to the context of the cosmogenesis. According to Shankarakshita, paranishpanna is a term used by the Yogacara school in Buddhism to describe one of the three qualities of the absolute root of existence, or swabhava. In that conception, whereas the other two qualities of this absolute root manifest in a dependent nature, paranishpanna is the absolute nature, not dependent of anything. HPB also comments on the other two qualities of swabhava on her commentaries in the 9th sloka of this stanza, namely the paratantra or dependent reality and parikalpita or mistaken views. Therefore, in this worldview, paranishpanna corresponds to the absolute root of existence, the absolute and independent aspect of swabhava. HPB employs many expressions to explain swabhava, and one can imply many of the epithets applied to its paranishpanna element. The mystic essence, the plastic root of physical nature, the anima mundi, the father-mother, or the Kabbalistic archetypal world. In the commentaries of that sloka, HPB makes a comment that is a clue to understand that paranishpanna, though absolute, is not unchangeable. Therefore, it evolves. HPB says that it is absolute, however, only in a relative sense, for it must give room to still further absolute perfection, according to a higher standard of excellence in the following period of activity. There is a suggestion in this commentary that even though paranishpanna is a perfect state, it's also followed by an even more perfect state after the next Mahamanvantara, or manifestation. The clue to understand the difference between perfection and an even more perfect perfection can be found in the commentaries of stanza 2, sloka 1. She says that there is a great difference between conscious and unconscious being. The condition of paranishpanna without paramartha, the self-analyzing consciousness, or svasamvedana, is no bliss, but simply extinction for 7 eternities. Thus, an iron ball placed under the scorching ray of the sun will get heated, though, true, but will not feel or appreciate the warmth, while a man will. From this fragment, we can conclude that the difference between this perfect state before the current existence and an even more perfect state after this great cycle is self-consciousness. We could understand that that statement as follows: consciousness, when it manifests in the gross levels of matter, forgets its true nature. We, as humans or animals or whatever, forget our cosmic origins, and we are contaminated by selfishness and sense of separatedness. This is the nature of Maya, or illusion, which generates avidya, or ignorance. This is the foundation of our imperfect states. Patanjali affirms that this avidya generates asmita, or the illusion of a separated self. The Buddha describes this avidya as the first nidana that ensnares us into conditioned existence. Realizing anatma, the lack of substance in our sense of self, is the key to destroy this ignorance. In the Vedanta tradition, one breaks through ignorance and illusion by understanding the identity between Atman, or manifested spirit, and Brahman, the absolute. In the voice of the silence, the sense of separation emerging from consciousness manifested in matter is described by the great heresy. In other words, self-consciousness here does not refer to an understanding of who you are in this personal level, but understanding your true nature beyond personality. I like coffee and I dislike yellow, but it has nothing to do with who I really am. It is a different sort of self-knowledge. That's further emphasized in the next fragment of the commentary. It's only with a mind clear and undarkened by personality and an assimilation of the merit of manifold existences devoted to being in its collectivity, the whole living and sentient universe, that one gets rid of personal existence, merging into, becoming one with the absolute, and continuing in full possession of paramartha. We can conclude that the evolution of existence depends on our ability to identify with the cosmic existence itself. When we identify ourselves with the universal soul, it is like the universal soul recognizing itself or reaching paramartha. This is the quality that differs the perfection described by that sloka to the improved perfection of the same stage after the next great cycle. Or it is at least a simplified version of the great mystery, one that is accessible to our minds. From that perspective, it's easy to understand why the theosophical literature emphasizes so much the development of altruism and the creation of a nucleus of universal brotherhood with no distinctions. It's not simply an ethical mindset, but an alignment with the cosmic laws according to many great sages. However, the same traditions that illuminate us with this perspective also warns us that intellectual understanding of unity is not enough, not even if manifested into behavior as generosity. Buddha, Patanjali, Shankaracharya, and many others agree that direct perception of reality, in other words, true self-consciousness, comes from meditation. This perspective allows us to understand why illumination can also be seen as a collective process rather than an individual goal. This is much emphasized in the Bodhisattva ideal, much valued by HPB. Each step we take towards enlightenment is a step to improve even more the perfect state of Paranishpanna, improving its capacity to manifest in all levels of existence while maintaining self-consciousness. I'd like to read, to finish this, a beautiful fragment in the voice of the silence that can illustrate the wonderful occasion in which one can merge into the absolute, in full possession of self-consciousness, becoming part of something much higher in a collective sense. It says that at the end of the journey, one standeth now like a white pillar to the west, upon whose face the rising sun of thought eternal poureth forth in its most glorious waves. His mind, like a becombed and boundless ocean, spreadeth out in shoreless space. He holdeth life and death in his strong hand. So let's try to be this white pillar. Thank you.
Great and excellent scientific work, which incredibly somehow completed and summed up today's lectures. Dr. Albuquerque, thank you very much for your very important thoughts and components of the concepts when you clarified in special way the connecting states described by HPP and secret doctrine. So important is that by defining all the concept of shunyata or the emptiness, by saying that this is the state out of concept, liberation from the mind concept. And we would like to point out that the shunya state is not the absence of everything. It is acquired when the time has to one point without duration, when the mind is connected, all the things at single point starts to be clear and understandable in this one point. And shunya is the state of a free internal state. And here is the reign of spirit. And when the mind is connected to it, when then nobody knows the secret of the spirit but itself. Thank you for your pointing out the practical applications of the secret doctrine knowledge and the stanzas. Thank you very much for your priceless integrated thoughts. Dear colleagues, today we had an opportunity to ponder about the first stanza, sixth sloka. It's our last seminar today, and we are going to be on holidays till September. And this seminar was as an explosion of understanding by every of our speaker. We see that every seminar discovers more and more possibilities and ways of thought and directions of thought. And thank you for sharing all this with us. And I myself would like to share a couple of thoughts that I had while studying the sixth sloka. The seven sublime laws and the seven truths had ceased to be, and the universe, the son of necessity, was immersed in Paranishpanna, to be outpressed by that which is and yet is not. Not was. What was not? The great breath was not. When while exhaling, we have the appearance of the universe. While inhaling occurs, there is disappearance of the universe. Then there is another important aspect. When the great breath is directed, it becomes the divine breath, and the breath of unknowable deity. The one being is breathing this way, because the divine breath, when it is inhaled and the universe disappears, it disappears into the bosom of the Great Mother, who then slumbers wrapped in the veils of the eternal invisible. The great breath is what is and what is not at the same time. So what is the exhalation when aspiration, the movement, of time appears. What is not is the inhale when aspiration, movement, and time disappear. So when the completion occurs, the one being, the unknowable deity. The first movement is to breathe out the thought that becomes the cosmos. On the planes of being is the symbol of seven ray star, the plane of uh, the mind. And Helena Petrovna breaks it down into three aspects of the absolute. First, breathing, second, abstract space, and third, duration. According to the great law of correspondence or identity, these three aspects of the absolute are reflection, and this reflection is the mind or monad, which is also threefold as these three aspects. And when this reflection occurs, then the breath becomes movement, abstract space becomes mother given birth, and the duration becomes time. So we have three periods, present, past, and future, which are complex time. For all three are a composite number, but only in relation to the phenomenal plane. If you have a look at the planes of existence, you see that we see the phenomenal world uh, and three upper planes, the world of nomads. So if the nomads, these three states do not have abstract meaning, then there is past time, present time, but also the future, which though has not manifested itself, but still it exists. Parnispanna at the end of the great period of Mahman Vantara, which is achieved by all lives, or while the period of rest is absolute perfection. That is the disappearance of all three composite numbers of time, past, present, and future. What happens then? What does it mean in the plane of movement, paranirvana? Helena Petrovna writes it is the absolute being and not being. It's being itself. It is the state achieved by the human monad at the end of a big cycle. So it is the way of the movement of the light of the monad till completion. This is the plane of spirit. What is this movement of light monad till the completion? What is it like and where does it start? Not being, emptiness, and darkness are three in one, or self existent and perfect. This is the single cause of potential movement and future light. which means they are the sources and the core and answers. But we know that the one does not evolve because it has not been created. So what evolves? Reflection evolves. Let us see, in the context of reflection, non-being is existence, the voidness is fullness, and darkness or unmanifested seven, and evolution is the light and manifested seven. What is not evolving are non-being, darkness, and emptiness. And what evolves? Being, e- fullness, and light. This is how we see the first stanza, next sloka. 1 plus 6 means 7. Elena Petrovna provides us with a description exactly in this sloka of what is the 7. 7 sublime laws and 7 truths have 6 statements. 7 sublime laws are Tian Kogans, who are the essence of the Creator Spirit. The Dhyanis are served successfully over one of the circles and the great root races of our planetary chain. So 7 circles, 7 races, 7 Tiani Kogans are the complete evolution and completion. On every circle, for every race, there are 7 Tiani Kogans, the higher gods, the masters of light, those who observe the cosmos. 7 tiny kogels are the higher gods, the plane of mind and creativity. They correspond to the highest period. Look, observe how the triadic goes through the archetypes plane and manifests itself in the blue 7 ray star or 7 hierarchy. Tiny Buddhas, which are also 7, this is a plane of um, formation, and this is the compassionate heart with the 2 triangles intertwining and corresponding to the Trinity. 7 bodhisattvas on the physical plane are Manushya Buddhas, human Buddhas, as Yelena Petrova writes in Theosophical dictionary, these are sons of Chinese Buddhists. 2 sons have not been born yet, but they will be manifested in the 6th and 7th race. So 5 Buddhas, human Buddhas, are manifested in 7 races. So now we live in the 5th race, so 5 have been manifested, and it corresponds to Trinity. This sevenfoldness or threefoldness, which is explained by triad or Trinity, as sum has 21 or 3. What does it mean? It means the threefold force, which comes manifested through hierarchy, monarch, mind, or Trinity, and threefold being. If we look through the planes of being, they correspond to the 7 circles. 4 truths have been passed through because we are on the 4th circle. We know that the truth is a revealed secret. And since humanity lives in the 4th circle, the very force of evolution exposes this mystery. So, 5th, 7th, 6th, and 7th circles have not been passed yet, so the mystery is not exposed yet. But the world has already had 4 Buddhas. That is, the Buddha is the symbol or state of the pure guide. Buddhi is the absolute wisdom of the divine mind, which means Buddhi is the spiritual energy which brings atomic substance into form and number, and accordingly from the plane of the pure energy to the plane of substance. The 4th dimension is essentially the astral light, distinguished into the higher and lower astral plane. 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensions correspond to Atha Buddhimanas, triad, outside all dimensions, and the place of great silence or the voice of silence. That is, the original triad, which was in the beginning, where everything began and where everything will end. Human evolution will end. Seventh state, Atma, is seventh circle. Sixth, Buddhi, sixth circle of development. Fifth state, or higher manas, fifth circle. And fourth state, manas, develops the fourth circle. It's where we live now, and we have the possibility to develop this lower manas, which means the fourth dimension of the fourth circle, development of the fourth body of consciousness or lower manas are the thread of anakarana. So the bridge to the higher triad or the higher world, which means at the beginning of the cycle, three falls into four and the spirit materializes. And at the end of the cycle, four rises to the three highest bodies. So the matter is spiritualized. Paranirvana has no further absolute perfection according to the highest level of excellence of the next activity, just as a perfect flower must cease to exist as a beautiful flower in order to grow into a perfect fruit. So if we see this dimension of the planes of being, when Yelena Petrovna, HPD, tells us about this flower, we see its existence in order to become fruit, we see this three is the state of Paranishpanna. Four is a symbol of perfect fruit or perfect state or Akasha, the reason of sound, which corresponds to Nirvana sound. Paranirvana sound. So perfect flower is paranirvana, and perfect fruit is nirvana. Next, HPV gives us the description of the hidden knowledge. Let us see what is this hidden knowledge and why such big attention is paid in this sloka to it. If we draw number 8, the secret knowledge will be this point. It is point between two states, the cause and effect. It's a connection between the cause. First, we can compare it to the highest and lower manas, these two triangles, and point between them, which is connection or heart or anatarana, which connects higher and lower manas. The ankogons act through these manas, which lead the person to freedom from the uh, dense matter, because the matter links the person to existence. The hidden knowledge learns us to develop, to evolve, and this wonderful evolution does not have a beginning or any imaginary end. Thus, the universe as one of the infinite, innumerable universes, and these points connect the, um, the parts is hidden knowledge which connects everything together. That's why knowledge is synthesis of the opposites, of the cause and effect, good and evil, dark and light. The knowledge as connection of eternity in its endless movement. This secret knowledge is transmitted by the teacher to the student. This connection expands the consciousness and reveals the creative power because it is the only one that can evolve. There is one Lord truth over the entire cosmos, the supreme will, the great mind creates on earth by the power of hierarchy. The driving force of the universe is so hard because it has the will to create. It is the will itself as a law, and Foucault uh, is, appears in aspect of cosmic electricity. The four spirits of fire indicate the action of the four differentiations. Electrical energy is manifested in conductors of organic matter in the form of qualities of consciousness, initiative, understanding, coordination, and execution. Let us have a look at the planes of being. How does this differentiation evolve? And how does it refer to the human being? On archetypes, it corresponds to initiative. On the plane of mind and creativity, it corresponds to understanding. On material informative plane, it corresponds to coordination. And on physical plane, it means execution. Therefore, the fulfillment of the instructions of the teachers given by the teacher is the first impulse towards perfection, so that a person can get the recognition or coordination by achieving its highest priority. Then this coordination understanding will lead to better, deeper understanding inside, and then there will be an idea or reason for the initiation or motivation or impulse of the mind to create. That's how Foucault has the possibility to create by the mind. And our notions of duration uh, and time uh, were born by our perception and by laws of association. They are bound by the relativity of the human knowledge, but they cannot have any other existence of the individual ego. But they disappear when its evolutionary progress dispels the mire of phenomenal existence. Thus, time is a panor- it's like a panorama of a sequence of the states of our consciousness. In fact, we can say that it is and it is not. There is in our manifested world as a relative concept, but this relativity helps us to understand phenomena and events. We need to acquire this self-awareness in order to understand sampriti, false inference, the source of illusions, or the beginning of seduction, paramartha, which is synonym to Swansambada, the of thinking that analyzes itself. Paramartha is the only true existence. So acquiring of this state is the lower ego acquisition, but only higher ego can analyze itself. The true self-awareness is timeless, or it binds together three components of time, present, past, and future. The matter is slow motion. Everything is slowed down there. So what gives the impulse to this slow motion? What gives the speed, acceleration? The cosmic mind or the universal mind, which is spirit. The paranishpanna is the complete state of the great cycle. When the spirit knows the end, there may be many statements, and many statements can be determined. A person, a human being, translated from Sanskrit, means a person or disciple, and it's like a century or time. And teaching is the passage of a time cycle. Mind gives impulse to ascend, but in order to do so, we need to learn how to end, to finish, because the great law of evolution is according to the law of identity and accordance, this smaller cycle, which is a century, year, month, week, day, night, or hour, a minute, a second, a moment. If we learn how to end, terminate our state every moment, our states of bliss or uh, anger, our satisfaction, dissatisfaction, and others, we can achieve the state of self-awareness, self-understanding. If we remain pure, we do not plunge in the or temporary, but remain in eternity, we can refine our intellect and become human beings with pure thoughts. And this is our evolution uh, aim, to become purely sevenfold. When the great cycle ends and the great completion occurs. So the seven supreme lords and seven truths will cease to exist, and the universe, the son of necessity, will be immersed in Paranishpanna to be exhaled by what is, and at the same time is not. In the meantime, there was nothing. Thank you very much for your attention,
Дорогие коллеги,
dear colleagues,
уважаемые члены научно-исследовательской группы,
uh, dear members of
спасибо
scientific
всем
research
за
group.
познавательный
We'd
материал.
like
Я
to
очень
thank you
ценю
for
услышанное.
materials that
Сегодня
you
каждый из
shared
вас
with us.
поделился со всеми своими
Today,
мыслями,
everyone shared
идеями,
their thoughts,
направлениями, методами
ideas,
исследования.
directions,
И эта
methods of
индивидуальная работа
their
каждого
research.
из нас,
And
она
this
очень
work,
важна, и она
individual
ценная.
work, is
Я попрошу
priceless
сейчас членов
and
научно-исследовательской
precious.
группы
And I would
высказать
like to
свое
ask
впечатление,
scientific
мнение о
research
материалах, которые
group
представили наши
members to
прекрасные
share
спикеры
their
сегодня.
ideas
И
on the material
у вас
that
не
we've
будет
heard
много
today by
времени,
our
буквально
wonderful
минутка,
lecturers,
и мы
speakers.
начнем сейчас.
Unfortunately, we do not have much
Я вижу, что
time.
прям подключилась
Each of you have
Ретромайер,
like 1 minute,
Теософского общества
and I see
Великой
Petra Meyer
Британии.
is here with
Пожалуйста,
us.
Ретромайер, скажите
Please,
несколько слов.
you are welcome to share with us your opinion.
Thank you so much. That is overwhelming, all the information. And I think we need to think about it again. Read this stanza with different eyes and concentrate on every word, especially the Sanskrit words. And I think when we meditate on them, we will experience what the archetypes have to tell us. So thank you very much to all the presenters. It was a lot of work you put in, but it was for all our benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And here we have the European School of Theosophy and Iphigenia Customonity. You're welcome. We are listening to you, your impressions, final comments.
Hello, everyone from Athens, Greece. The Secret Doctrine is the masterpiece of Helena Blavatsky. And it is very helpful to be able to listen to other researchers and exchange thoughts and give them their own angle of approach to this very special work. So thank you all. They were great presentations. Thank you all. Thank you, and thank you, Evgenia and Vladimir, for this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Iphigenia. And we would like to present final comments. Dear Esther, Theosophic Society of Australia, we are listening to you.
Hi, everybody. Yes.
Please.
I can only second what has already been said or thirded what's been said. It just blows me out how so many different angles can be put on one little sloka, which happens to be part of a series, and each one of those slokas presents the same thing in a slightly different way, and is also practicable in meditation, as Raphael was saying, also practice in our daily lives. And I second what Petra said, is that we've got enough to meditate upon, and we won't look on this sloka the same way when we read it. And I just love your graphics, Evgenia. It's just extraordinary. So I just thank everybody who was here. I'm so glad I was here. It's midnight here, and I've been yawning all the way through, but not through lack of interest, just sort of need to take a deep breath every now and then, you know, the in-breath and the out-breath that we've been learning about. So thank you, everybody. And Taposhri, I just don't know how you do these things, but I do love the rhythm of language, and I'm a linguist, and that really resonates. And Jose, you too brought this wonderful perspective, and Rekha, just beautiful. Have I missed somebody? No. And Vladimir, is it Vlad, is it? Vladimir? But anyway, it was just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. And we would like to listen to Russia. We have a candidate philosophical studies, Sergei Vitalyevich Kolganov, Moscow Aviation Institute. You're welcome. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the lecturers for insightful speeches, and together with Evgenia Mikhailovna to point out several phrases from the sixth sloka, such as our universe, as many other universes, is the son of necessity, and another one, which is the future, which has not been manifested, still exists. And if we start to interpret these thoughts and we go to the facts, contemporary neuroscience got so close to experimental evidence of these thoughts. Such are experiments by American scientist Libet, who did it in 1982, to prove that all our actions are done by subconsciously, basically, and we have only one part of billion seconds to veto the decision by our mind. Another experiment by Bros 11 years ago, which was conducted in 2009, proved that the decision to veto our action are also made subconsciously, and only afterwards we get aware of them. So the secret doctrine and Benedict Spinoza idea, Spinoza was a Kabbalah scientist, and Shankara, Indian philosopher, speak about the same, that only one substance exists, which does not have parts, and all the actions are being regulated by this substance, not by the person. That was experimentally proved the last 30 years. Thank you very much for your attention. Sergei Vitalyevich, thank you very much. And we would like to hear Rekha Nahar, who participated for the first time in this kind of seminar, and it was a great honor for us. We are happy that we had Philippines with us. Just a couple of words. How did you feel about this seminar? Rekha, dear, please speak up.
I am kind of speechless after hearing from all the panelists, and particularly hearing from Sister Eugenia. Oh, I don't know what to say more. All I like to say, I am inspired. I will be studying more, particularly Secret Doctrine. I have been in the Theosophical Society for some years, but I am more into work. I am in the service work. So I really did not take time to study. But after tonight, here in the Philippines, is night already, I will study more. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your feedback. And we have Russia, St. Petersburg, a wonderful city where
the core of Theosophy exists, which moves, which develops, exists. And I give the floor to the current member of Russian Academy of Science, Michael Nikolaevich Churakin. Just a couple of words. Dear friends, first of all, to add to what has been told, not only 6 plus 1 gives 7, but we have to pay attention to 6 because it means the awareness to Madhya Buddhist principles. And today, our lecturers proved it. We saw that the realization of this deep core meaning of the black book, the Jupiter energy, starts to get manifested, which Vladimir mentioned in the beginning. And I would like to say about today's lectures and the core of the Sloka that all the personal qualities, all forms, shapes, individualizations are created by the flow of term, and it doesn't matter what creates combinations. This is nirvana, something that cannot have any parts, and nirvana is the symbol of the refusal to everything personal for the sake of the truth. And as nirvana is the refusal of the personal, paranirvana is the completion of these planetary cycles of planetary karmas. I would like to thank Madam Ganguli for her unusual aspect that she analyzed. Dr. Taposhri told about the sound, which is the sound of Akash, and thus we go to unmanifested, to this absolute which this talk talks about. Thank you very much. It was so insightful, and take care. Have a great day. Thank you. And we would like to listen to our Mr. Pandey, our Indian friend, Theosophist, uh, Paradise State, and president of Theosophical Society of this state. You are welcome.
Thank you all. First of all, I
Uh,
congratulate all the speakers, Rekha, Nahar, Taposhri Ganguli, Kwang, Jose Manuel, Rafael Marquez, and of course, our sister Savunikia for speaking in this very extensively, very deeply in this seminar. I will complement only 2 points. The 7 levels of truths have been defined in very ways. One way is that the 7 levels are inbuilt in this cosmos. They're always there. They're the bedrock of the manifestation. And whatever manifestation is in the state, only contents in this 7 level of consciousness change, but the consciousness field of the 7 level remains. So this is one of the many explanations of the 7 truths. As we know, every level of truth is like a multifaceted jewel. So it is good that our speakers have shown us several faces of this jewel of the truth. A second point which I would like to supplement is that Parasanipanna in Yogacara school, this is one of the 3 truths. The 3 truths is mentioned as one is Parakalpita, that is which is apparent, only apparent. For example, the sun is rising, that is only apparent because sun is not rising, not setting. And the second is Paratantara, that means what is manifestation thing we are seeing as a whole. For example, day and night cycle and all those cycles, flux, reflux, all this as a whole, we see the manifested world, changing world. And the highest is Parasanipanna, the absolute truth. I think with these remarks, I will again congratulate all the speakers, organizers, and thank you very much.
Mr. Pandey, thank you very much for your completion and final comment. And our colleague from Portugal, Jose Manuel and Plato. Just a couple of words from you, your impressions.
Well, just saying it is wonderful to be with sisters and brother Theosophists from many different countries, from the west, or almost from the extreme west to the extreme west, and that proves that we are building a nucleus of universal brotherhood. And I really think that those kind of exchanges of points of view are very useful for all of us, because no one can have the absolute knowledge, and taking in account different points of view is very important, I think, to a deeper and more comprehensive understanding. Thank you so much for the organizers. They did it brilliantly. The last presentation for Eugenia and their pictures and images were very inspiring. Thank you so much to all of you. Fraternal greetings from Portugal.
Jose, thank you very much, and we welcome the member of scientific research group representative Blavatsky Lodge, Arnie Narendran, the director of Theosophical research group, online group. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, good evening from Mumbai, and absolutely brilliant it was. Amazing, because I really wonder where this, whether Yari and Eugenia pick up all these illuminated souls from across the world. Amazing. I'm sure they are channels of Blavatsky's consciousness, and they actually have opened up a state of shunyata in our own experience of discussions here. The Soba, which Raphael mentioned, is all ingrained in this kind of conversation. We don't have time to talk more, but the kind of opening up internally is amazing. And I'm sure we have the best domain knowledge of the secret doctrine being shared by this wonderful, compassionate, loving couple who are somehow getting the right kind of people for this kind of a platform. And I'm sure they told me it takes 5 years to do a secret doctrine when I first met them. Now I didn't believe them. Now I believe it's going to take 10 years. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to give the floor to my colleague, philosophist from Brazil, participated in this seminar for the first time. His report was brilliant. Dr. Albuquerque from Brazil, the Theosophical Society, Brazil. Dear Raphael, just a couple of words and your impressions about the seminar. You're welcome.
Thank you. I just would like to express my gratitude, because it's very rare that we have the opportunity to go that deep in one sloka. And I think I, just like the other panelists, probably, went so deep to study the sloka just to organize a short talk. And then we come here and we see even more points of view of the same thing. It just allows us to go so deep, and it's very rare to have this opportunity. So it's just very amazing, and I'm very glad. And thank you for the invitation to be here.
Thank you very much, Raphael. I would like to sum up.
Thank you, Raphael. In conclusion, I would like to say a few words. Have a look. The magnet was laid by HPB, and this magnet was laid by her in a special dot inside a circle. And this 6-ray star in the center of the wheel of time shows us hierarchy of Dhyani Buddhas. those are the highest spirits which have the bodhisattva mind, consciousness, and this consciousness is radiated, and during its radiation, by giving out, the connection appears. The magnet works this way, and of course, whatever quality of the knowledge we have, the same attraction we have of those truths which are embodied by your thoughts, by your actions, by your deeds. Of course, I am thankful to all of you, to Evgenia very much. Evgenia collects all us together. She is the main gatherer, collector of all of us. And of course, I am trying to help her as much as I can. But the most important is the fact that we are learning to comprehend the reality in its suchness. That means that we are present with our hearts, and the heart must be sincere, and this sincerity brings people together. This sincerity is the star itself. Each of you is the essence of its star, its divine spark. Thank you so much, and my respects.
My dear friends, Arne is surprised and by saying, "How do we manage to attract so many brilliant souls and scientists?" But this is how magnet works. The thought of Yelena Petrovna. It's not me. It's this great idea of the secret doctrine studies, the idea of sharing this knowledge and giving the scientific aspect to it. And this is amazing that every one of you today implemented into this explosion today. Dr. Taposhri, Jose from Portugal. Dr. Huang's research is wonderful. Rekha is just like an explosion. Raphael, another excellent lecture, and explosion of notions, understanding, and every comment that we heard today after every lecture. Every one of you introduced and brought something in order to make this star shine, in order to make it be a wonderful beginning. This desire to give the best of you, to give the best of you, this trust to secret doctrine, this respect to HPB. That's why this knowledge is endless, and every one of you was brilliant today and contributed to this endless shining. Also, would like to thank our audience who wrote to us, who asked their questions, who have been very active all year, who participated during the whole seminar, its preparation. We thank our interpreters. We have a big team of interpreters, 8 interpreters who during this season, this year, have been with us and helping us to provide understanding. Thank you, our technical support. And we thank Zoom platform, which helps us to get together. And you know that we are not, it's not a farewell, it's just a goodbye till the 25th September, when we will study the 7th Sloka. Today we mentioned, but we will study deeply in September. I would also like to draw your attention to the fact that it is through such seminars, such lectures, that we show our devotion and reverence for the name of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, and thus to the entire hierarchy of light. This is what veneration is all about. And of course, the heart opens. Thank you very much again.
We'll be waiting for the next Theosophical quizy. These are the answers to the questions from all our listeners, which will appear soon after this seminar. Keep updated by following our news on the Theosophy Foundation YouTube channel. Thank you all for the important work that each of you does for Theosophy around the world. We are not saying farewell forever. Write your suggestions, feedbacks, and we'll be in touch with you. Wonderful holiday to all of us and application of this knowledge to our lives. It's easy to be together. See you on September 25th. Light and love to all.
The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Dedicated to all true Theosophists. Book of the Third Millennium.
Blavatsky only knew